So I'm about to talk about a subject that I find very interesting, and I'll just to give a little bit of background on why I know so much about this subject. I suffered from asthma attacks since the age of probably 8 or 9 years old. I would wheeze and I could barely breathe, and nonetheless, this was quite a terrifying experience because when you just can't breathe, it's quite a stressful experience. And so, fast forward 12 years, I was wondering what the hell is up. We've got tons of breathing problems. How do I solve them? And I go to a ear, nose, and throat doctor, a doctor who checks out the nose. And I have this deviated septum. So one nostril is smaller than the other one. I go to the doctor and ask him, hey, what's the issue? And he says, well, you've got a deviated septum and we can do surgery on it, but it will only likely make 1% of a difference in your breathing. There's nothing you can do. You're basically stuck having the breathing problems you have. And then I go directly after that to a Qigong class. And in the Qigong class, the instructor cues breath. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. I have no idea what you're telling me to do. So I have no idea what that means. And so then afterwards, I ask him, hey, what's the deal? And he takes 2 looks at me and he says, oh, you have paradoxical breathing. It means that when you inhale, your belly goes in, and then your chest comes out. So it means you're primarily breathing through your chest, primarily not too much movement in the diaphragm. So I found out about this and I started doing breathing exercises, and slowly by slowly, I've been able to fix my issues with my breathing. It's taken me years, 10, 12 years. And I'm like, today I finally reached a milestone, which is huge. It's a kind of a long-winded intro. Hopefully it's useful, but it gets to a particular point that I want to answer. How do you know whether your breathing is compromised or not? And there's a lot of things that go into it, but there's one really important thing, and that's to recognize what is your diaphragm. The diaphragm is a very important muscle of respiration, meaning breathing, inspiring and exhaling. And then it's also a muscle of stabilization and postural control. So it's a really, really important muscle. And when you inhale, the diaphragm descends into the lower belly if you're breathing in a healthy way. And as you exhale, it rises back up. Imagine as if there is a dome inside of your body. That's what the diaphragm does. And when you inhale, the dome flattens out and pushes on the abdominal muscles. And then when you exhale, it comes back into its position. And the inhale is the only muscular thing that we need to worry about. That's the only thing where it actually takes active control. The exhale happens automatically. It's elastic recoil. So diaphragm is really important to understand. So if you don't feel that diaphragm descending into your belly, pushing onto the organs and going down to the pelvic floor, then it might be a case of the abdomen. You might want to think about paradoxical breathing, meaning that are you inhaling? Are you expanding your abdomen as you inhale? And then that's the main thing you want to look at. And the next muscles of inspiration are your intercostal muscles. So you got the intercostal muscles going all the way down the ribs until the 12th rib. I'm going to just throw you about right here. And there are muscles in between these ribs, and they expand and contract. And it's 360 degrees of motion. So it's not in one particular way that you want to do it. You're expanding all the way into the back. You can even breathe into your back as well. Most people don't know how to breathe in their back. So go ahead and try it right now. Try taking a big inhale and just noticing where is it easy to breathe and where is it hard to breathe. That can give you a sense of what it means, what your issues with breathing are. So diaphragm, intercostal muscles, and then the third really important thing to look at when you're analyzing your breath is the accessory respiration muscles. So these muscles are the sternocleidoid mastoid, this one right here. That's a really important one. We've got the scalenes back here, which come more towards the back, but they go all the way down. They go all the way down here and all the way up here. And so the scalenes are really important. And then all of your upper chest muscles, like your pecs, your latissimus dorsi, all of them are kind of implicated in breathing. And if you have problems with these muscles, it means that you're they're taking the brunt of breathing all the time, as opposed to only needing to use them when you're exercising. Also, overuse in exercise is also something that can turn them on. The muscles basically become hypertonic, and it's not only the muscles too. There's this important component of fascia, because the fascia interweaves that as well. So it's not just your muscles, it's also your fascia. So another muscle to think about is the quadratus lumborum. If you need me to write these down, just ask me on Twitter at Stuart Alsop III. I can then write them down so you can find them and like look at the images and then find them where they are on your body. The quadratus lumborum is a really big one for me. That was a really painful one over the years. And then there's another thing. The TMJ. So you got this TMJ muscle right here, TMJ joint, tendromandibular joint. And it runs from here to here. This is the joint is right here. The masseter muscle is right here, and also a little bit up here as well. And then you got some internal muscles. These make up the tendromandibular joint. And if you have a lot of tension there, it might also mean that you have some issues with breathing as well. There's this thing called the red light reflex. The red light reflex is whenever we experience stress, it seems to start right here and then right here. These are the two first places where you'll get like this. Also, breathing is affected by emotion. Breathing is affected when you are concentrating on something. So when you are concentrating very hard, a lack of breathing can happen. So all these different things are happening basically. So if you have a lot of stress right here, also might consider having breathing. And that's another point, is that there can be actual pathological genetic issues with your breathing, or you could be older and really having a biomechanical problem, a physiological problem with your breathing that requires medical attention. But that's an important case, and you should think about that. But for most people, they don't have that. Usually it's what's called a psychosomatic or a stress-based pathological symptom. It's a symptom. It's not the root cause. Usually we're breathing disorderly because we've faced some sort of trauma or mostly trauma, emotions, emotions that have basically been stifled, repressed, things like that. They've done a lot of studies. I'm reading this great book. Let me see if I can get it real quick. Recognizing and treating breathing disorders. I'm not planning on treating any breathing disorders, but I do help people with their breath. This book is really interesting. And it's taught me a lot about emotions. That they've done a lot of studies on the emotions of people who are breathing, and your breath changes with your emotions. So you feel sadness, that will give you a different breath rate. If you feel happy, that'll give you another breath rate. If you feel anger, that'll give you another breath rate. A few other things to take in mind. I'm not going to keep this over 10 minutes. A few other things to keep in mind is that sound, your ability to talk is very, very dependent on your breath. Each time that I'm making a sound, I'm making a small little breath, an exhale. It's always on the exhale. And then I'm manipulating my mouth, my tongue, my teeth, and my nose. And I'm manipulating sound through these vocal cords. Very interesting part I just learned is that when you inhale, the diaphragm goes down. The diaphragm actually has connections, fascial connections through the heart to the throat right here. And so when you inspire, the lungs, these two cords where the air passes through basically expand, and then they come down. You can actually feel that in yourself. I've just been starting to feel this over the past few days. It's been quite powerful. And so, there's a bunch of stuff with breathing. If you are interested in learning this experientially, because I can show you this stuff instead of just telling you the anatomy and the science behind it, which most people don't understand. I have had the good fortune and the good misfortune to learn way more about the breath than I ever wanted to learn. But now I know this. And so if you want kind of an experiential understanding of that, I do breathwork sessions about 6 times a day. And do them for 10 minutes, so it's really easy to fit in a day. And you can find out more information by going on Twitter at Stuart Althop III, and then sending me an email, or send me a DM with your email, and then I'll add you to the list where I send out the schedule for the following day. So hopefully this has been helpful. It was really interesting for me to get all this stuff out of my head and on paper, as so to speak. Yeah, let me know if you have any more questions.